Hey friends, this is Eunice. Thank you for joining me today. Today is going to be my last podcast for 2021. And so I will resume again in January after the holidays and some travels. And so I just want to thank you all for listening today. Today, as a last podcast of 2021, I just wanted to do a podcast talking about my favorite things from this past year. Now, I got this idea from my prayer partner, and so I just want to thank her right now. Thank you to my prayer partner for getting me this idea. How this idea came about was because she and I were texting yesterday, and we text different prayer requests the past few months as we've been prayer partners. And something cool that she wrote me that really touched my heart was, Eunice, I'm grateful for you. You're one of my favorite things from 2021. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I felt so loved when she said that because just some things I've been thinking about, it made me realize I need to do a reflection video. And I want to encourage each one of you guys to do just a time of reflection with the Lord. Things that you're thankful for, your favorite things from 2021. And honestly, as I was writing my top 10 things from 2021, number one, I was amazed because I feel like this year has flown by, and yet so much has happened. Because as I was writing my list, I was like, oh my gosh, that happened this year. Like it feels like it was like years ago, and yet it was just 6 months ago. And it's just been kind of one of those years. I'm curious, is every year like this, or just this is a peculiar year? I'm not sure. But I want to encourage everyone listening, when you finish this video sometime this week, spend some time with the Lord and write down some of your favorite things from 2021, because I feel like as we reflect, there are actually a lot of amazing things to give thanks for. So I just want to share some of these with you guys. So number one, obviously, I just want to talk about the Lord's faithfulness. I am so grateful to God. In just hard times, we're in the midst of a pandemic, and yet his faithfulness is our anchor through these times. And so that's something I'm grateful for. Number two, my family, my marriage, and my kids. Obviously, I'm going to say this because they mean so much to me. And just something cool about in our marriage, I just feel like Chris and I are approaching our 20-year anniversary. And I can honestly say to you guys that we are still in love and we love each other. And with the Lord as the foundation of this family, I feel like the Lord's brought us through so many things, and I'm grateful. And these things have, with intention from both Chris and I, of cultivating our marriage, but all the different winds and waves that have hit our marriage in these 20 years, the Lord has brought us closer together, and I'm grateful for that. Something I'm grateful for in my children is through looking at through this year. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I have 5 kids. My oldest is 19, our youngest is 8. And when I look at just the Lord's faithfulness to our kids and where he has carried them thus far, it's just astounding, and I'm grateful. You know those times in parenthood where you're just like repeating the same message or the same lesson to the kids over and over again, and you wonder if it will ever stick? It's amazing because looking at this year, I feel like there are lessons in my kids' lives where I realize, oh, these lessons have really stuck. And they are turning into just amazing adults. And I'm so grateful to God for that. So that's something. Third, God's provision. This year, I'm not sure if you followed along in our story, but our family moved within Colorado Springs, which is still the same city, but it was during a time where the market has been insane. But the Lord just gave us a vision and I'm not a call. That's too great of like a word. I feel like just a vision to move houses within our city for various reasons, one being financial. And it was just amazing to see the Lord's provision for us. Even with our house, Something I was saying to my sons the other day in the car, I was like, how long does it feel like to you that we've lived in our current home? And the kids were all saying like, yeah, it feels like we've lived here for years. And this is one of those moments when I realized in 2021, I'm like, oh my goodness, we just moved to this house 6 months ago, and it already feels like we've lived here for years. Like the Lord's provision for us has just been astounding, and that's something I just want to give God thanks for, and just share that with you guys as a testimony. Is He is so faithful to us, His children, and I'm grateful. And we have other testimonies of His provision from this past year, but that's just the only one I'm sharing right now for time's sake. Something really cool about this year, number 4, I would say, is for dear friends. I am so grateful for new friends, and I'm so grateful actually this year that we've connected with some old friends, like old college friends that we've lost touch with and things. And it is just amazing to see people's journeys and where the Lord has brought them since college. That's just something I've really been reflecting on the past month because as some of you guys know, we traveled back to where I used to be in college, in my old college church where Chris was a pastor. And it's just been fun catching up with old friends and just seeing God's faithfulness in people's lives and the healing and just the plunges of faith people have taken and seeing the Lord's faithfulness through their life in all these years. And so that's something I'm so grateful for, old and new friends. Something else I'm grateful for is our church. We started going to I guess it started last September, so 2 Septembers ago. And it's just been amazing to see the Lord growing my whole family through this church and His faithfulness just in giving us a small group that we really enjoyed. And that's where I met my prayer partner who gave me the idea for this video. And I'm just so grateful to God because for those of you who have been church homeless for a time, I would say Chris and I were looking for a church for about a year or so. And it is hard, and especially in the midst of a pandemic, even harder. And so I'm just grateful to God that He gave our family a church where all of us really love connecting to and we enjoy going to each week. And so that I give the Lord thanks, truly. Another thing I'm grateful for is this little ministry that Chris and I started, The Journey Home, for our podcasts and for our coaching, because the Lord has given us an opportunity to coach people that we normally wouldn't encounter in life. You know, even this week I was coaching someone who's become a friend, and this person literally found me on Instagram. And I am so grateful to God that Chris and I have been able to pour into their family through our coaching. And also, I would say with our podcasts, Chris and I began our podcast not knowing if even one person would listen, honestly. And I will say we don't have like this huge, massive following where we just blew up on the internet or anything like that. But I am so grateful if even one life is touched, even one life is changed. And it's been amazing because today, to date, we have done over 130 podcasts between Chris and I. And I am amazed because really we started it with a lot of doubt and fear in our hearts, will anyone listen to this? God, are you going to give us even messages each week to talk to people about? And yet the Lord's faithfulness, again, has been astounding. Is He gives us faithfully each week something to share with you all. And He gives us just people who listen, where it's a timely message in their life. And I'm just grateful to God because really, Chris and I, our heart is if even one life is touched through our ministry, it is worth it, and we are grateful. So thank you again for those who listen. So that goes along with my number 7. Honestly, I feel like the Lord's been stretching both Chris and I and really leaning in to listen to His voice. And that's something that I'm grateful to God for, is that He speaks to us, His children. He loves us. And because of that, He wants to speak to us. And so that's where I feel like I have really been stretched and leaning into the Lord and trying to listen to his voice more clearly in my life and for all of you. And so I'm grateful to God for that. Something else I'm grateful for in this past year is health. Now, I've shared this in previous videos, but there have been a lot of people, okay, maybe not a lot, but definitely a handful of people in our lives who have had life crises and who have had health, specifically in the area of health challenges. And I'm like looking back on this year and I'm like, whoa, were they like just going through that surgery this past year or whatever? And I'm amazed by the Lord's faithfulness in carrying people through their health challenges. And I'm grateful to God because at each time that's happened, it's made me just reflect and be grateful for our health and not take that for granted. Number 9, I am grateful that COVID restrictions have loosened up, and I'm grateful for that. For example, even just our kids being able to go to school. So this is 9 and 10 tied in together. My kids are in cyber school, and our son, when he was starting university this year, we were wondering, is he going to get to go in person? All these things, and I'm just grateful for that because just looking back in this past year and a half, the uncertainty of this time, and I'm grateful that the Lord has just given us some more freedoms. Even, we were able to travel this past year a couple times, and that's huge. These are things that I feel like should not be taken for granted. And so I'm grateful, and I feel like a lot of you guys are also grateful because I feel like in times where we would have taken those things for granted, now we don't take it for granted as much. For example, at Thanksgiving, we were able to host my whole Chris's whole side of the family in our home. And I was grateful for that because we hadn't seen his sister in 2 years and her family because of just, travel stuff and challenges with COVID and things like that. And I am grateful to God that we could be reunited with our families in that way. So just a quick little message I just wanted to share with you guys that the Lord put on my heart is, so in James chapter 5, starting at verse 7. Be patient then, brothers, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, and how patient he is for the autumn and spring rains. You too, be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. Don't grumble against each other, brothers, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Brothers, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we consider blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. So, sharing all the things that I've been thankful for, my favorites from 2021, I just want to share this with those of you guys who feel like you're stuck or you're going through a hard time and you're like, oh Lord, 2021 is ending and I'm still in this weird limbo. I just want to bless you guys with this thought and idea, okay? So here is a book, right? So something the Lord's really been speaking to me about to a lot of our coaching clients and things like that is a lot of times we are in the middle of our story and we're expecting like conclusion. Like, where is the ending to this hardship, Lord? And the thing that I want to encourage you guys is God is still writing your story. If you are still breathing, you are in the midst of your story with the Lord, and He is still writing this book of your story. And so something that I want to encourage you, now this is not like a new thought from me. I've heard this from various people, but honestly I can't remember who. But God is writing your story, and if you are in the middle of your story, I just want to encourage you, like in the book of James, okay? to keep persevering because your story is not finished. And something that I have been remarking to Chris a lot about, as I shared earlier, reconnecting with old friends, is I am honestly amazed when I look at some of their lives and how the Lord has brought them through in their story. And I want to say this to you, those who feel like you're in the middle of your story, completely stuck, I want to say God is still writing your story, and keep going. Because I feel like in 10 years, you're going to look back at this part of your story and be like, oh, it makes sense now. And so that's just something that I want to encourage you guys, is the Lord is writing your story. And as we step into 2022, I have no idea what's going to be in store in that year, honestly. But I am eagerly anticipating what the Lord is going to do in 2022. And for those of you who really are going through a hard season, I want to just encourage you, keep going, because God is writing your story still, and it is not finished, and it is going to be a good story. And so I just want to leave you guys with that thought as we step into 2022, and I want to leave you with this scripture, okay? John 16, starting at verse 31. You believe at last, Jesus answered, but a time is coming and has come when you will be scattered, each to his own home. You will leave me all alone. Yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things, that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. And so I want to leave you guys with this thought as Christmas is approaching, is with the promise that Jesus has overcome this world, and he has overcome all the problems and the trials that you are facing right now. And so I just want to exhort you again, before we step into 2022. Take 10 minutes, take 15 minutes, take 30 minutes. Just take some time to write down your reflections on this past year, specifically in the area of God's faithfulness, and what are the favorite things that he's highlighting from this year for you. Because again, I will tell you, as I started actually physically writing it down, I confess I'm really bad at journaling and taking notes. But when I did this exercise this past week and I started writing down all the things I'm grateful for, I am astounded, because the list is really, truly long, and it is amazing how chock full this year was. And so I just want to leave you guys with that thought, and just encourage you, please persevere. Persevere, don't give up hope. Remember that God is still writing your story. And so this is just a middle chapter in your story. And as you look back in 10 years, you're going to be just astounded at the Lord's faithfulness in your life. So thank you all for listening. I hope that you all have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year. Bye-bye.